right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Blood Prison Shakedown. Thanks for joining us. Today we have a guest down the road from Columbus, Ohio. Runs a company down there called Beastcraft. If you go to Transworld, you see him. If you have a haunted attraction, you buy from him. I know I do. Welcome in to the Shakedown, Dustin Drerup. Did I say that right?
Yeah, you got it.
All right, sweet. How's it going, man?
It's going. Thanks for bringing me on. I appreciate it.
Hell yeah. Thanks for coming up, man. Find the place okay?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. No issues at all.
Do you ever been here before?
Yes, I've been here. I've been to the attraction.
Oh, okay.
I've been to Blood Prison before, like to go through the haunted house. I've never done any of like the haunted, like stay the night kind of things, or like the historical side of it. I've only ever just been here for the haunted house.
Oh, very cool. So you've been up for Blood Prison. When did you when did you come up for Blood Prison?
It was about 2 years ago I was here. Okay. And then prior to that, it was, I don't even know if it was Blood Prison at the time. It was like 10 years ago.
Oh, okay. So 10 years ago would have been the Haunted X years.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. That's cool. So you've been here before for the haunt.
Yeah.
Now, let me know if you ever want to tour, because we can make that happen. But yeah, I've been doing it since 17. So, no, 16 actually. So yeah. I don't know if I would have had some of your stuff then. Did I?
I don't think so.
I don't think I did. Yeah. That's before I bought from you.
It would have been, it would have been just before like you started buying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I definitely would have hit you up. Like, can I get a free ticket or like a line pass?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. No, so I ask everybody, that does, because let's be real. Anybody who knows, Beastcraft, knows you do amazing work. Where does that come from, man? Where did you get, how do you get inspired as far as your ideas, love of Halloween? I mean, where does it come from? Where does that come from for you?
That's a tough question, man. I don't know. I watch a lot of horror movies.
Right.
I have been into horror movies like since I was just a little one. Mm-hmm. And it's just that has always just been like a really strong interest for me. Yeah. So, I don't know. It just comes very naturally, but I would say film is probably the biggest influence of like just what's going on with horror films and what has like what I like, from the past, like things that are nostalgic to me.
Sure. So what's your favorite horror movie? I mean, if you're going to bring that into it, let's start there. Where's your favorite horror movie? If you're going to you only watch one the rest of your life, what's it going to be?
That's easy one. I always go to Predator.
Predator.
I don't know if it's like you could consider it horror. It's more sci-fi.
Yeah, more sci-fi.
Yeah, like Predator was for me the game changer.
The original.
Yeah, the original.
Yeah,
Predator.
It's a great flick.
Yeah,
great flick. Arnold and Carl Weathers and Jesse Ventura. Great movie.
Yeah,
a lot of blood, a lot of guts.
When I first saw it when I was a kid, I didn't like it.
Yeah.
It scared me very badly.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't sleep for a long time. And I don't know why, it just really scared me. When Carl Weathers gets his arm shot off and it falls to the ground and it's still like shooting, it's like burned into my brain.
Yeah.
So that, like at the time I kind of didn't like it, but then over the years like grew to love it.
Sure.
It was sort of like if it was ever on TV, it would be like, I don't want to see it, but I do want to see it. Yeah. So I would, peeking through your fingers, that kind of thing. But that was definitely like the Predator is hands down like the biggest influence on me as far as getting into monsters and stuff.
That's cool. That's a first. Most people are, like when they're, my age, it's always like a Friday 13th, Halloween, of course, Exorcist, Predator. That's a different one, man. But that's a great flick, man. Did you like the Alien versus Predator?
No.
Not a big fan of that one?
I didn't. I mean, I liked them before I liked them to see the creature design, and but they did not have like the same. I don't know.
Didn't feel
there was
the same.
Something missing from it.
Yeah. Well, they started doing all that noise. It gets kind of with Freddy versus Jason. I remember being really excited for that, going, "Oh, this is gonna be awesome! Freddy versus Jason, this is gonna be so cool." And I was like, It like that back in the
back in the time when like Predator was made and stuff, you had like, Terminator, Terminator 2. I mean, that was all like the to me, it's like that's all peak cinema. That's like when everything was at its greatest.
Yeah,
was during that era.
Yeah, I agree. I can agree to that. Yeah, because now it's everyone's like, oh, it's so great because all the streaming stuff and everything. But it's like, yeah, but the nostalgia's gone. You know what I mean? It's not the same. Well, I got a theater room. Yeah, I know, but it's still not the same.
Yeah,
it's not the same. You go to the movies.
That's not the same. That doesn't like it does. The films don't even look the same. They look like too clear or something. Like like they lose that like grit to them. But
there's no grit. There's no grain, film grain or whatever they call it. And then, but it's coming back. I think in every aspect. Like everyone wants records now. I don't know if you're a big music fan, but everybody wants vinyl. They got to have it on vinyl. I'm like, why did we go away from that? Why does that stop? It's just weird how the different trends hit.
Yeah, I enjoy music a lot. I love music, but I can't say that I've gotten into like the vinyl aspect of it. Like I haven't got into it. I know a lot of people that are really into it.
Yeah.
For me, it's more convenient to have it on my phone, which I know is like sacrilege to say, but I mean it is. It just
sound like vinyl on my phone, please. Can you make that happen?
Exactly.
Probably could. So does that then inspire you when you're making a new prop at Beastcraft, like or originally, or do you see something like from a movie that you're like, dude, we got to make something like that?
Yeah, I mean for sure, and there is also just watching the industry and seeing like what is popular.
Yeah,
and it's kind of just like an overall blend of everything. Just taking it all in, and then at the end of the day you still want to do something that you really like I just want to make things that I enjoy making, and like really want to see, like, oh, I want to see that, like I see it in my brain, I want to see it in real life, like that kind of thing. But it is a very much a blend of what's going on in the industry, like what's selling, or feedback from clients, and also at the end of the day, horror movies and just everything that's kind of cataloged in the back of my brain.
It's amazing how things start. Like we were talking about vinyl or the old movies, and that becoming relevant again. But it's just like how different things get throughout, like just the industry we're in. Like last year, it seemed like pumpkins were huge for some reason. Where's that? Who started that? Oh, it's going to be pumpkins this year. Get it out there, pumpkins. So you're like, oh shit, we got to make pumpkins. Okay, let's make some pumpkin stuff. Because I bought a bunch of pumpkin stuff because it's what people are wanting to see apparently. Where does that come from? From like on your end, where do you think that comes from?
I don't know. I mean, I think the industry itself is very influenced. By just whatever kind of takes off the year prior, then the next year you see a lot of that. So it's kind of like if you're trying to nail what's popular, you're always going to be behind the curve a little bit. So for us, it's not like if pumpkins are popular, like we want to do pumpkins the next year. It's more of like what has been popular like in the past and what might come back.
What's bringing it back? Yeah.
I mean, it's like the industry. There are specific things that are always just going to hit. Like, and pumpkins are just one of those things that always hit. Everybody like the harvest stuff. There's a lot of like rural area haunts that have that theme just kind of built into them as it is. A
corn maze or something, or even just a trail,
Yeah. And a lot of times what I hear people say, like when they're looking to buy a prop, is they'll say, where can I put this? Like whether it's to me or whether they're just talking to themselves. But so I kind of put myself in that mindset of like, where can I put this? And if I can't think of where a person could put it, then it's like you gotta, I don't know, it's a push and pull of of how badly do I think this can succeed versus like I don't know where you would put it exactly.
Yeah.
But I still believe in it, so I'm still gonna put it out there and just see what happens with it. But then there's some stuff that you make and you're like, I know exactly where that would go. This is probably gonna hit, and this is the use for it. This is the theme for it, and usually that's like the safe bet.
Right. Well, it's always that trick of what can we make that could go anywhere? You know what I mean? Like a zombie character can go almost anywhere.
Right.
You know what I mean? But you've seen that a million times. Everybody's seen a zombie character.
Yep.
So finding that what's hot, like we were talking about, is, kind of key. I remember when aliens were big there for a hot minute. There was all these, we made alien stuff at one point. And it was just like, okay, now I don't have anything alien. You know what I mean? Because nobody really does it. Pumpkins or that certain prop you'll see like when you're walking around Transworld. I remember a couple years ago, everybody was walking around with the big staff and it had a bowling ball pin on the end of it. I remember just seeing, I don't know if you remember that or not, but it's like just everybody had those everywhere. Or the cinder block. Same thing with cinder block. I ended up buying one of those actually. Just finding that trend, is just the tricky part, I think. So,
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, so in the process of making, a monster or a prop or whatever, how did you get started in that? Did you go to like an art school, or is it just like, did it just come to you natural?
Yeah, I went to art school.
Okay.
I went to Pittsburgh, which no longer exists, Art Institute of Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I went for specifically was mold making, monster design, and just like 3D art.
Yeah.
They had like a whole program that was based around it. So there was someone that came to our school and they talked about the school, and it didn't occur to me. So where I went to school, the idea that was a job, because when you're that age, you're like, what am I going to do? That's the big question. What am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
I'm a kid, and you're like, I have no clue. But everyone's asking, what are you going to do with your life? Well, I'm only 17, so it's really hard to tell. But the guy came in and he was like, yeah, we make molds and we sculpt and I believe, I don't know if it's memory or whatever, but I believe he like specifically referenced Predator, like like in Predator, like they make we do the kind of stuff they did on Predator, and I was like, oh, I can do this for a job. And so that's where I decided to go to school and focus on like learning how to make molds and how to sculpt. And I was already really into sculpture, but it was like just doing clay and it would dry up and throw it away, pottery, that kind of thing. But I was really into hands-on art. And so I went to the Art Institute and I completed the associate's degree, which was another big appeal to me. I could be in and out in like 2 years. And so I did that and went to, my big play was I was going to work at Life Formations in Bowling Green.
Ohio?
So, yeah, it's in Ohio. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a really big, it's a very high-end animatronics company. And so I graduated, moved back in with my family, and I went to Life Formations and did my first job interview, and I just got reamed. So the lady was just really hard on me and was not interested. I don't know if she was annoyed with like all the people getting sent there from the Art Institute, but she definitely had a very big chip on her shoulder, and and I blew the interview and didn't get the job, and so from that was a big wake up call to me as like getting out of school, going through that experience. So but I just kept with it and eventually didn't keep with it, just kind of gave up on it, and years later, just through random things, I ended up at Scare Factory, and that's how I got like into this industry. Working at Scare Factory.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So is it always been on that end of it as far as, making the monsters and the props? Did you ever worked at a haunted attraction or done anything at a haunt?
No. We did do some work for Flanagan's, which is like a bar in the Columbus area. So that was kind of one of the first gigs that I got as Beastcraft. And
right on.
so we did do like some facade work for them. We helped them like do some layouts for their panels and do their walkthrough and everything. We worked like really closely with the owner. We put that all together, and it had a run of like 2 or 3 years, I think they ran it, and it was cool. That was a good experience.
Yeah,
Definitely enjoy making like animatronics more so than like getting involved in the wall paneling and layouts and everything like that. But it was a great experience. It was a cool kind of launch to doing Beastcraft as a business.
Right. Well, it gives you an idea of, like you were saying, this will go in a certain place, or this could be cool here, your lab scene, or your scarecrow, or your what I mean, a cornfield type of thing. So working at that, I just wondered. I know I chatted with you many times before, but I never really knew if you got into that world as far as. So Scare Factory. Did you ever work any other prop house like that?
No, I was there for 5 years.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, I was there for a long time, and well, I guess it's relative, but to me it was a long time. So, man, gosh, it's so long ago. It's like trying to remember, how old I was when I started working there. Where I was in my life. It's all at that period of time is all like a blur, but. It was a long time ago. I had been out of school for at least 3 years, I think. Landscaping, pizza places.
Wow.
Just like really like, and by the time that I fell into the job and when I say I fell into it, I mean I really fell into like it wasn't based on like my experience. Obviously I had none.
Right.
There was no portfolio review. I mean I literally just happened to fall into this job.
Yeah.
And by that point I hadn't been sculpting very much and I hadn't been doing much art. And so I was really like happy to have that opportunity.
Sure.
But I was there for 5 years and then I just left to do Beastcraft.
Do your own thing?
Yeah.
So you started kind of like making your own stuff on your own and then thought, I'm going to do this by myself and just, break off and start doing your own thing because you don't want to be a lifer at a prop shop.
Yeah, so how that all happened was I actually wasn't doing anything. So I was working at Scare Factory and I was like finishing props, so doing a lot of painting. Mm-hmm. I wasn't painting heads. I was just doing like character paint, costuming.
Right.
Do some facade work, sweeping floors, taking out the trash, cutting up clay for the sculptors. So I was like doing a lot of like some of the lower level tasks for 5 years, and kind of went through a transition where I was like, I'm not developing, like how it just wasn't like what I wanted to do.
Yeah, of
course not. So I left Scare Factory and then just worked on my own stuff at that point for probably 3 years.
Oh, okay.
So that's a whole thing. When you leave Scare Factory, you can't really do anything for a while.
Yeah.
So I had some time to kill. So I worked on stuff and I worked on doing some hand sculptures, doing some head sculptures and stuff like that.
Right on.
Way out of practice and just got back into it that way.
Very cool.
And yeah, so then kind of weird how it all went down. My dad was a huge help, like getting the business going. Mm-hmm. He's actually like a really good welder, probably like the best fabricator that I know or have ever come across. So he was a big part of like just going to him and saying like, I have this idea, I think it could be profitable. Like I just want to start this business. And so we went to Transworld for 1 year and we checked it out, just kind of came up with like a game plan. And at that point I had already been doing my own stuff for like 3 years. And then the next year we hit Transworld and it was a very, very slow start, just a lot of learning experiences and just working our way through it.
Yeah. Yeah. Transworld is the first time you go, it's kind of, overwhelming. Yeah. Even now, did you go with Scare Factory to Transworld?
Yeah, that's the thing. I never did.
Oh,
I never
okay.
even went to any of the trade shows. So, I went the first year as like an attendee.
Yeah.
And that was my first experience even seeing it. And even if I had gone, like, for somebody who's just starting with one booth, I think it would have been such a different experience. It would have still been learning from the ground up.
Yeah.
What to do, what not to do.
Sure.
Because there's the dark zone where
Yes.
and then there's just having one booth.
Right.
And it's completely different worlds. So
Absolutely.
I don't think it would have helped too much having gone at that level. But going to it, checking it out, and then coming up with a game plan, and then just learning what through failure, learning through like trial and error.
Yeah.
That was the best experience I could ask for.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's how you learn.
yeah.
If you're not prepared to fail, then, don't do it. But yeah, the trans world, I remember the first time I went, I was just like blown away by everything. And then like you said, the dark zone, you walk in there and you're like, whoa, this is killer. Cause you got the scare factory stuff that's just huge. And you're just like, where would you put that? You know what I mean? So it's an interesting experience. I never went to the Chicago ones. I've only ever went to St. Louis, but it's always fun to go and just see what's new every year.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. That the dark zone's always awesome. You got poison props in there, and
Yep. There's a lot more in there now than there used to be.
yeah.
Yeah.
And but like like I was saying, that's all like the next level stuff or whatever, and so coming into it with one booth is just not comparable to going up against like poison props or something like that.
Yeah. So how is it going for you? Like when it go to transfer? I mean, I know when I talk to you, it's just like, hey, am I gonna be able to get this?
Yeah.
So you're pretty stacked up then, yeah?
Yeah, it's going really well.
Yeah.
Transworld has been a good show for us. Like since we started, it's only gone up.
Yeah.
So from the low of like the first year learning experience, all the way up every year just goes up and up. So
what was your first Trans World year like with a booth?
Ooh, good 7 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Where were you at? Like roughly?
I was in the same area that I am now.
Okay.
Right around where you guys' booth is.
Okay, where ours is now. Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of like to the left.
Okay.
So like if you're kind of looking at the entrance, we were more on the left-hand side. Now we're kind of on the right-hand side.
Right.
If you know what I'm talking about. So we've always been right in that area.
Yeah, because I remember, I think it was 3 years ago when I first bought something from you. The buzzard it caught my eye. I'm like, we got to have that. I knew right away. But I had never personally seen your stuff before, and I'm like, where the hell have these guys been? You know what I mean? Because it's just, it's just everything is so good. You know what I mean? Very detailed and just, everything works well. Like we've never had an issue with anything.
Well, the first year we came, we just had static stuff.
Okay.
The initial thing that we did that I really wanted to focus on was like making characters that were like collapsible. So like they could completely come apart. Arms could come off, like they completely disassembled. And then my mom like at that time like helped me do like Velcro clothes, so you could like take the clothes off of the character, and it was like so you could store it away. And that was like the initial things that I did, and it was not a good idea. Like it was so like it didn't work. But at any rate, that's what we did the first year. We just had these static characters. We had a booth that was real small and confined. You couldn't hardly see it, and like that's all just part of the learning process of like not doing that again. Not
that
doing
learning
that
curve.
Again.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because when I first, you guys were almost kind of behind us to the left, and now you're down a little bit further, but your booth is a lot bigger. Yeah. So, do people ask you a lot as far as what they're getting? Do you get a lot of custom work? Do people like your shit and be like, "Oh, come on, man, can you make me one of these?" How does that work for you guys?
We don't do a lot of custom work.
No? Okay.
We don't. We have people that have requested it. and it usually ends up just being too expensive.
Yes.
Like that's usually that's usually the deal breaker is how much it would cost for us to create the piece. And that's just simply because if we already have it, it's a production piece, the mold's already made, that kind of thing.
Sure, yeah.
And so then now that we also do some custom paint. So like if somebody wants like a different costume or they want different paint, that's one kind of customization. We do that.
Yeah.
But I guess I just assumed when you asked the question was one like a full custom piece.
Sure, yeah. And can you make me this creature?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so we don't do a lot of it, but we can change up what we already have.
Mm-hmm. Now, have you ever dabbled in like the film world? Have you ever worked on a film or anything? Done any effects in that area?
I never have.
No.
We would always jump at the opportunity to do it.
Mm-hmm.
We have done some stuff like in the Columbus area, just like privately, but nothing on like a large production or anything like that. Even like not even like when I say like it's like kind of like the independent level of filmmaking that we have done stuff for or participated in, but we haven't yet had that opportunity. But I would love to. It just seems like it's kind of like fewer and far between that kind of stuff goes on. Like,
yeah, especially around here. For a minute, it was kind of, we were seeing a lot of movies in Ohio, but now it's not as, it's a lot more scarce now. But some of your stuff, like I mentioned the vulture or buzzard, I'm not sure what you call it, that we bought. We did a movie about buzzards one time. That's kind of why I was just like, I saw it and I was just like, holy shit, that looks like one of our, you know what I mean? I was just like, that's awesome, so I ended up getting one. But that's why I asked, because I didn't know. I'm like, that's really good quality shit that I would not be surprised to see in a movie.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. So do you do any other trade shows? Like, or is it strictly Trans World, or do you go anywhere else? IAPA, anything
We
like that?
only do Trans World.
Yeah.
So I've done Mask Fest.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't done it for a while. We did Midwest one time when it was in Ohio. I think it was like the last year that it was in Columbus, and now it's in Chicago.
Yeah.
We haven't done that yet since they moved. And that's all we do, just Trans World.
Yeah.
I would love to go to IAPA. That's kind of one of the things on my to-do list or, hopes for the business is to go to IAPA. But right now we just do Trans World.
Very cool. So another question I had for you was, and I'm sure you get this a lot actually, where's my order? I ordered a while ago, Dustin, where's my shit? I want it.
That's a good question. No.
Don't you just love that? Like 2 days after you get back from St. Louis, they're like, hey, man.
Yeah, and I try my best to respond to everybody and get them like a timeline on their order.
Yeah.
And we are on schedule.
Yeah.
My biggest issue is like a lot of times people in conversation will ask me, and I'm like, whoa, like if I don't have my book in front of me, like that's it. Like I have to be able to refer to my calendar and say like, I can find you here, and this is when it's going to happen. And
yeah. That's just good. I had Dave Shonk in from Close Casket. I did the same thing to him. I was like, hey, where's my order at, by the way? You didn't bring it with you by chance, did you? He's like, oh, man, come on. Yeah, that's always those fun, without calling people out or whatever, but it's just like, we get it at the shop over in Crestline where people will call or email, and I'm like, it's a show we told you is going to be at least 6 weeks before we get this to you. It's not even been a week. That's one of the downfalls of, doing that, but it's like, it's still worth it because it's just so much fun. I love going to Trans World. Just everything that they have going on, it's more than just a convention, with going to like the City Museum or the big, they didn't do the vampire thing, but a lot of us were going to go to that. But the different events that they have within that one that just makes it a good time. Yeah.
It is a great show. We always have a good time at the show. I think one of the things that I don't get an opportunity to do is like interact with like a lot of like the other vendors and stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I've tried to work on a little more over the last year or so, is trying to, network and just hang out with people more.
Yeah.
But it's, for the last few years, it's always been such a stressful experience. It's hard to I have a hard time like separating out from that, of like concentrating on like what's going on with the business, and like separating out and interacting with everybody, you know, like you guys over across the way or whatever. It's like you get kind of just wrapped up in this,
absolutely,
in like the chaos of the moment.
Yeah, it can definitely be that way. And I get what you're saying, but it's just, you know, once you get to that point though, it's just like you so look forward to going and seeing everybody that you haven't seen in a while. But, you know, some people are just like so focused on what they're doing. Some people get to the point where they don't even go anymore. I mean, I would almost, I don't know, I don't see what you're doing, but I mean, I would think just from my discussions with you on, hey, can I get this? I remember you telling me, I was like, nope, not going to get that this year. And I'm like, damn, okay. So you're already looking at next year and your orders and everything. Do you think you'll get to a point where you're just like, we can't really go to Transworld because we just don't have time to build or sell anything that's not already on our plate?
That I don't see us ever not going to Transworld. I think for us, we're very growth driven. We want to grow and do more.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the reason why I got into doing my own business, is because I always want to advance. I always want to see what is going to come next.
Yeah.
And so if we were to a point where we weren't going to the show and we were capping our orders before the show, I feel like we would not be doing everything we could.
Okay.
You know what I mean? We would need to expand the crew, expand where we are. And that's always a stressful thing in and of itself, because, you know, then it's more overhead as a business. So you're taking that leap of faith that it'll maintain, like the next year will maintain.
Right.
And so that's a scary thing, but that's that's the fun of it.
Yeah, for sure. Because you got to keep creating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's, I would assume, would be the fun of it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not creative at all. I can't do anything. I can't do any of that. So when you're doing, like, I know this year we bought the nurse, that Silent Hill looking nurse you have, which I love, is going to put in our hospital. When you're making that, when you're designing that, are you sculpting that? Is that all from you, or you're just doing all that and then doing the mold and everything? Is that all on you?
Yeah. I do have guys that do some of the mold making and some of the sculpture and stuff like that, but for the most part, everybody's hands-on a piece that's getting made. It used to be just myself doing all the pieces, but as we've grown, like, we have other people that will help out, do that kind of thing. So, and I've actually, for me, that making the mold is probably the most hands-on part for myself. I love mold making. That mold making is, to me, like my Zen garden, you know, like doing the little sand like thing, like finding the piece within yourself. That's mold making for me. So like when I'm making a mold, I'm living like my peak life. And
that's so funny.
So I really love that, and I love doing the sculpture, and that's kind of one of the reasons like I started doing this whole thing, was just because I wasn't doing that, and I wanted to get back into that aspect of it. And now as the business has grown, I'm kind of in a position where I'm doing so many other things that I'm back to kind of where I was, and it's like I gotta, you know, always maintaining that of like always wanting to have my hands in the ultracal and the silicone and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So you mentioned your father does a lot of the welding. Does he do all the welding for you when it comes to your animatronics?
So he did originally.
Yeah.
And there was a year, I want to say it was like 2 years ago, where he did, you know, 90% of the pieces that we were putting out. He retired. And then it was like he retired, we were doing this thing, and it really took a step up that year, and we couldn't find anybody to do it. And so he took it all on, and he did it. And that was kind of, after that year was kind of the point where he was like, you have to find somebody. Like, I can't do this. But he had been our only welder for a long time. That's cool. And so I started to get more. I was into welding like when I was younger, And so I had experience with it. I am not a good welder.
Oh, okay.
I'm not a master fabricator.
Do you do that?
No. But I do weld some of the pieces that come out of there. So like some of the static pieces and stuff like that.
Oh, gotcha.
And I have started to do some of the mechanics, but we do have a team of welders that we use.
Right on.
And so we develop a piece, and a lot of times it's me and my dad that work through it and
prototype it,
and then we just take it to our crew, and then they just replicate it. So every piece that is developed, every animatronic that we have, went through us first, and then
gotcha.
So we don't have anybody that kind of does the design end of things or anything like that.
Yeah, you were asking me how the ghoul thing that pops up and the head moves around. You're like, how'd they go? I'm like, man, that thing ran like a champ. I mean, I didn't have any issues with it. When we first got it, I'm like, man, I hope the head doesn't, and I think you mentioned that, but no, it ran really good.
Good, yeah.
Everything,
that's good to hear.
Well, everything runs, like your stuff runs so smooth and seamless that you don't get a lot of that you're, used to, and the air sounds and everything. And it just makes it gives it that much more. I love the one that kind of just sits and, does all that. It's just really good stuff. It looks cool, and we didn't have any issues with them. And that's the main thing, which I can see, you taking off in that area when, you're not having problems with your stuff. People are going to buy from you,
That's good to hear, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. And of course it looks amazing. You were talking about mold making. It's so funny because I know people, mold makers, that are just like, I don't ever want to make another mold in my life. And you're like, I'm zen. I am there when I'm doing that, For people that don't know how to do that, that might be listening, give them an idea, like a difference between like, when you would use UltraCal making stone molds as opposed to maybe a resin mold or a silicone mold or something like that. Where are you most zen when it comes to that, if that's what you're,
So we mainly use UltraCal and silicone, and I enjoy either of those. Silicone, I like silicone as I'm getting older. I like silicone molds because they're easier to pull. So if you're casting stuff in them, it is easier to remove a piece from a silicone mold than it is to remove a piece from an UltraCal. So whenever anybody's coming through the studio or something and they're looking at molds, the best way to describe it would be, what are you casting? Are you casting a hard piece? Then your mold has to be soft. Are you casting a soft piece? Then you can cast like in UltraCal or a harder material.
Right.
In that, so if you're using UltraCal, you're using latex and foam. Or if you're doing masks, you're just running latex just straight into the UltraCal.
Right.
And silicone is it's not as durable of a material as like a stone mold, but it is really good for casting polyurethanes. So you can cast a piece that's your piece ends up being more durable, being made out of polyurethane than being made out of latex.
So let's, for instance, let's say, I don't know, let's say the buzzard one that I bought. I really love that thing. So let's say that one, you sculpted the buzzard, I'm assuming like the head or whatever. So you sculpted that out of wet clay?
Yeah, we use a lot of wet clay and we use a lot of oil clay.
Okay. So you sculpt it, and then how did you mold that one? Let's say that one in particular. How did you mold that, just for the people?
So the head is polyurethane. It's the part that needs to be the most durable. The head or the neck is flexible, so that's out of silicone.
Gotcha.
So
is that one mold then, the whole piece?
It's multiple molds.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
The feet are molded in silicone. The body is UltraCal. The neck is UltraCal. And the head is silicone.
Gotcha.
So if you're casting a piece in silicone, you can't use a silicone mold because the silicone will stick to the silicone.
Exactly.
So you have to have that UltraCal or stone mold for casting the silicone.
There you go. That's how it's done. Then go ahead.
And a lot of time, and it's like making a mold is very time consuming.
Yeah.
there's a lot of building walls and where is it going to separate? How's it going to open? How's the piece going to pull out?
Yeah.
All of that
The seam.
good stuff.
That's
seam,
what we always is like,
yeah.
how do we hide the seam?
Yep.
You know? So okay, so let's say you have a stone mold, right? And you run your piece. Now, and then you have your polyurethane piece. Now, what's the difference in painting that piece as opposed to painting one out of your stone mold?
If you're casting out of your ultracal, it's going to be latex. So you're going to want to use like latex-based paints to paint it. And I know a lot of people use just mixing a little bit of latex like into each layer of paint. There's specific paints that you can buy. There's all kinds of different methods to painting those, but ultimately they're all like kind of water-based latex paints.
Right
on. Your polyurethane head that you're gonna paint is a little. You need a lot more of a primer on it for the paint to start sticking to it.
Right.
Since it is a polyurethane, so as long as you prime the piece, from that point on, you can use kind of like more water-based latex paints.
Very cool. Yeah, a lot of people ask that. I've been asked like, the difference, and I'm like, well, I don't know. So it's always good to ask somebody who does it every day, how people, because there's a lot of people out there that are striving to learn this stuff, that want to learn and, just like you did, just try and do their own thing and make their own stuff. So it's always good. I try to, give as much info as we can to make it, just give another side of what it's like, in the Halloween or haunted attraction industry, going to the trade shows and stuff like that. So what has been probably your best show at Trans World?
This year was our best year.
This year?
Yeah.
So you're getting bigger every year.
Yeah, bigger every year.
How did the COVID year, did that affect you guys pretty big?
Yeah. I think it affected everybody.
Oh, yeah.
And for us, there was a really good transition year because it really lit a fire under our ass to like get our website together, which is something that we had not done in the past. So we would go to Trans World and get a lot of orders from the show, and the website was always kind of backburnered because like even if it was up, we couldn't really take more orders if we wanted to. So it was kind of one of those things that always got shoved off, and they canceled Trans World right before Trans World.
Yeah, that was horrible.
So we had all of our stuff like prepped, all of our prototypes ready to go, and so we immediately just started filming stuff, doing photos, and just completely revamping our website and switching to an online presence. And we were able to salvage the year.
That's good.
It was definitely not like, that was one year that we did not surpass the previous years for sure.
Yeah.
But I always kind of look at that year a little differently. It's like
Sure.
we're always still growing.
Yeah.
And then there's that one year, we won't look at that year. That was
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't blame you. Well, and it's funny too because we were the same. It's actually when we went, 2020 was horrible. The following year after that was, because that's the year they did it kind of late. Remember, it's like May or some shit, which sucked. You know what I mean? So that wasn't great. But the year after that, 22, we did amazing. I mean, that was probably, a big year. And then last year we did good too, but it wasn't quite as good as the year before. But it's just how the shifts go, I guess, when it comes to, year by year, how you do at Trans World or even Midwest or whatever. But as far as like when you're making the props and you're starting your company or whatever, Ohio has like the most haunts like anywhere, you know what I mean, like per capita or whatever you want to say. And it's almost like that with prop shops too, and there's a ton here. Does that affect you at all as far as, I don't know, your sales or the competition, or do you guys still just, I mean, it seems to be, I don't know, I guess what I'm getting at is it seems to be like everybody kind of has their own niche. But does that affect you at all? Because Columbus has, 3 or 4. Does that affect you at all?
I don't know. I don't know if it does or not.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's become so like it's very through technology and everything. It's easy to go nationwide.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily like a local thing. But I always think it's funny that there are so many shops in Ohio because, we had CCAD and then there was Scare Factory and then Unit 70.
Yep.
And so it's just like this kind of like little, you can almost see like the family tree.
Yeah.
Stretching out, And so, yeah, but I don't know if it does or not.
I love it personally because I can, it saves on shipping costs when you order from like you or Unit 70 or whoever.
Yeah, and I mean, now that you bring that up, it may become more of a thing. I mean, I've found that our shipping costs this year that we were charging people have been crazy. The highest I've ever seen. Like freight charges are through the roof. So maybe that will help us, having local haunted houses who are willing to drive to us in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. Hell yeah. Because also the cool part about that is you kind of get to maybe see a little bit of like, like I love coming down to your shop. When I order from Unit 70, I always go down and pick up there. It's because you can kind of, see what everybody's doing and see all the cool stuff and, molds everywhere. And so that makes it kind of interesting for the haunt owner as well, I think, to go down and like check out what you're doing.
Yeah,
right?
plus where it's coming from.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know who to call, and if they're gonna answer the phone, and then you know how to get a hold of them.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and it's so the industry, like getting into it, is interesting. You know what I mean? Because like I fell into it. I did radio and I worked for a special effects guy. I'm not really a special effects guy, but I worked for one, and that's kind of how I got into it. But I remember even just back in the day, I meant to ask you this earlier. Were you like a big Halloween kid? Like, did you like going trick-or-treating and dressing up as a kid when you were younger? Did you like doing all that stuff as well?
Yeah, I did. My mom would always make us like really awesome costumes and, from Captain Hook, Ninja Turtle, I think it was Batman one year. Yeah, I was always into Halloween, but I don't think I really came into loving like the art aspect of Halloween until I was older.
Yeah.
So I loved Halloween. I loved the candy, and I love going trick or treating.
Right.
But I didn't come into like appreciate the the creepiness of the creepy side of Halloween and like a lot of the traditional art that surrounds it, like the classic, like Frankenstein's monster, learning about like vacuform masks and learning about the history of the costume and all of that kind of cool aspects of Halloween until I was a lot older. So, I don't know if that answers your question. Like, was I a Halloween kid? I was a Halloween kid, but I was not, I was in it for the candy. And then when I got older and I was into art, I was into Halloween because I really liked the art and the aesthetic of Halloween. And, the jack-o'-lanterns and just I think it's like it's my favorite time of year because there are the things that, like, if you compare it to Christmas, when I look at a Christmas tree, visually I can't stand it. Like, I just don't like Christmas trees. I don't like the colors of Christmas. I don't like the green and the red is very atrocious to me as in a theme. And then when I look at Halloween, it's all very pleasant to my eye. Like, I love the colors. I love the art aspect of Halloween. And
Halloween is really, especially in the last, 5 to 10 years, has really taken on it's really, I like to say, invaded the other holidays. I mean, we do a Christmas show here, so we add a horror aspect to Christmas. Krampus, we've got the widow character, and she walks around and does her thing, and it does really well. And then a lot of other haunted attractions do, like the Valentine's Day. They'll do a Valentine's Day haunt or a St. Patrick's Day haunt. So it's really kind of stretching out and invading other holidays, which to me is amazing.
Yeah.
Does that help you guys out? I mean, do you ever think about, we make some Christmas props or some, horror, St. Valentine's Day, Cupid type of shit.
We have not done any specific holiday themed props yet, and it's not a matter of not wanting to. I think it's a matter of time.
Yeah.
Like if there's a lot of stuff that we have kicked around, like ideas that we wanted to bring out that were holiday based to try and capitalize on some of those, and there's only so much you can make in a year.
Yeah, for sure.
And so we have to really pick and choose what we make. So I definitely see us doing some stuff like that in the future, for sure.
Yeah, that would be cool. Again, because one, I love your stuff, and it's just gonna expand your world. Maybe do another booth at Transworld. Well, here's the Halloween, then we're gonna go to the Christmas show. You know what I mean? Because now even Transworld has a Christmas. Escape rooms, Halloween, Christmas. It's there.
And it's like if we were to do a holiday prop, we've kicked around different things, and we definitely want to stay away from our zombie with a Christmas or a Santa Claus costume.
Yeah.
Like, hey, that's the same zombie. It just has a Santa Claus costume. It's like it's got to be a full on creature.
Yeah.
That is specific to that holiday for us to get into it, to be behind it.
Yeah.
And so, hopefully we'll have some time to do that.
Yeah, that'd be
over
cool.
The next couple of years.
That'd be really cool, and I think all that helps. Like I said, all the holiday haunted attractions only helps a vendor because they're gonna need more stuff. Like I've got a whole area of the reformatory that we use for storage is all Christmas stuff. You know what I mean? So it helps out. But I just think that like I said, even like right now we're in another big one is halfway to Halloween. So we're in kind of the halfway to Halloween area of the year, but it's made it so the Halloween or haunted house industry has been like a full-time job, and more people can do it. You know what I mean? Which I think is amazing,
Yeah, I mean, the more business, the better.
Absolutely. And the more you get to work, on the stuff that you love doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. And it's something that I never thought I would be doing because I was the same way as you. I worked at a factory before I did this, and not before, but like right before, I got a real job and everything, but like, it's just grown to the point now where it's like, you're busy all year round from a vendor or a haunted attraction standpoint. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So what is your, can you give us a sneak peek on anything like for the 2024 Transworld? Like,
I wish I could. We have not done a single thing.
Yeah. Nothing
for design. Huh?
Yeah.
No.
Neither way.
It's just we went into the year and really wanted to try and do that. We wanted to do design parallel to production and not cram it right before Transworld. And
man, that's hard, isn't it?
So far, we haven't done anything. I mean, there's always like talking in the shop. Like there's 100 ideas that are always floating.
Yeah.
But nothing that we really have kind of locked in yet as to what we're gonna make. Yeah.
So I bought the. I'm really looking forward. I think it was the new one for this year. Was the Scarecrow? The Scarecrow. What do you call it?
The Scarecrow Blaster.
Blaster. Yeah. That was. I already know where I'm putting it and everything. Where did that one come from? Is that where did you get the inspiration for that? I guess is what I'm asking.
So that dude was. The idea was to do a character that was driven by one cylinder and really kind of do what is the simplest scary animation that we could do, and then kind of what would that apply to, and kind of working it backwards from that. We really didn't. We wanted to have a scarecrow. That was at the end of the day. We had like the scarecrow that had like the more organic looking ones.
Yeah.
That had like a lot of sticks and like real earthy characters. We had that, but we didn't have like a traditional scarecrow hat, burlap sack kind of thing.
Sure.
So we wanted those two things kind of came together. And then the idea was if this character was coming off of his cross like that in a violent motion, someone just threw out like, let's do some airline that's like wiggling around. And so we tried different airline, experimented with it, and then from there it was like, well, let's cover it because it looks just like rubber, like that. It's not gonna paint.
Right.
Paint
Yeah.
it. And so we asked my mom to make covers for that airline. So I mean, and
You
when
just keep it
like,
in the family.
yeah,
Right? Yeah.
my parents have always been super supportive.
That's awesome, man.
So,
That's great.
So and right now, like my mom is at home with my kids, and she just dropped off a bag of hose cover. I was like, I made you more hose cover. Here it is.
Thank you.
And so we, and those kind of details, I think, really like make it a really cool piece. It's like
it is.
It's very simple. It's a simple piece, but it has some great artwork on it.
It does. Yeah, and that's always good when like from the vendor standpoint, it's like it's got to be simple but effective, and it's got to look amazing. And I'm not trying to kiss your ass, but dude, your guys' stuff is awesome, man. You guys are on the right track. You're doing a great job. Well, I'll probably buy from you every fucking year,
we
man.
appreciate
no
the
doubt.
business. I appreciate anybody who buys from us. We appreciate the business because this is the stuff that like we just enjoy doing it. We all feel fortunate that we are able to do this as a job
for sure.
And it's just making good art.
Yeah,
that's like, to me, seeing something like the Scarecrow that came together like over the course of a year. When you see that like go off for the first time, that's like such an awesome feeling.
Yeah,
it's like like out of all the trial and error, here it is. It's like testing the airlines, and it's like, oh man, that's so much like The Thing, and it's like a throwback to like that kind of like effect, and it's really cool. I really enjoy it. The bat this year was something that was really cool to see finally come together. We were working on that for 2 years. Yeah,
that thing's pretty killer.
So that's the kind of stuff that's like, man, when you see it work for the first time, it's got the audio, it's got all of the cylinders are going off and stuff, and it's like, geez, 2 years, 2 years just for this moment, but it's like, it's all worth it. Yeah,
and it's all good stuff. I mean, now when you're making an animatronic as opposed to just a static, I noticed a lot of yours. I mean, the air, and then there's other ones that are just kind of, I'm assuming, electric motor, which explain the difference, I guess, is what I'm asking you, between the electric motor and the air for people who aren't sure, and the different movements you can get from both.
So a cylinder is very good if something is heavy. An electric motor, it has its weaknesses, so it's very limited in how much weight.
Yeah.
But a cylinder, you can pump air through it and it'll lift a lot. A cylinder is going to give you a straight forward motion, and an electric motor will give you a rotary motion.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're doing something like an arm waving, that's going to be like a motor. Mm-hmm. So you're going to get like a circular motion.
Right.
The motor is moving in a circle, so your animation is going to translate into a circular motion. It may be linear in that it moves from side to side, but it's still circular in the animation that's going into it. It's a hard. I'm doing my best to like explain it.
Yeah.
A cylinder is going to be just a straight lever, like a straight lever kind of motion. You're going to go in an arc, in a range of motion that just straight like this.
Right.
So, and you can turn that on different planes, and you can utilize like different planes, whether it's at an angle, but you're never going to get that smooth, like repetitive motion that you can get with a motor.
Yeah, and those look great. I mean, the cylinders are great too, but like I said, I think that is the one you told me. He's like, no, dude, can't get that this year. Was the one that it moves side to side, and it's kind of like squatted down, so it looks like he's just kind of just stalking you a little bit.
Are you talking about the Crouching Ghoul?
I think yes, for sure. Yeah.
So the Crouching Ghoul is like our second year piece that we had, our second year at Transworld, that did really well for us.
Yeah.
And
it's awesome.
Yeah, we still make it. We still sell a decent number of them. Yeah.
Isn't that funny how like something we make this werewolf puppet at Creature Core, and we've had that thing for ever. I mean, a long time, and we've tweaked it recently. Like we made a white version, we put a chest piece on it, but we sell those every year. It's almost like we know that those are going to sell. Do you have that one go-to piece that's just like, yeah, well, make sure and bring it because we're going to get rid of a lot of these?
I don't think we do yet. I
Yeah.
don't like everything that we sell always does really good the first year. And we'll sell a lot of them the first year, and we still do well with the stuff as it as it's in the catalog as an older piece. But there isn't any one thing that kind of sticks out as like the go-to piece. I think over the next few years, we definitely will get to that point where we have like the classic piece that we go back to. But we've only have successful years, and when I don't want to. That's kind of, I don't mean like we have been unsuccessful. Like you've got your learning years,
sure, yeah,
and then you've got the years where everything starts to kind of click.
Yeah,
and we probably only have 5 years of really good clicking, like really kind of hitting the market with the stuff that we've been making. And so with those 5 years under our belt, it's like each year everything sells really good, and then the older catalog stuff just stays steady, just kind of steady.
Yeah. Dustin's like, nah, all of our stuff sells, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
No. I don't mean it. I don't mean it. I don't mean to come across like that.
No,
at all.
I'm just busting. I'm busting balls here, man. Well, again, your stuff is like so killer, and I can't wait to see next Transworld what you guys are going to bring to the show, because I think a lot of people anticipate, not just you guys, but a lot of people. I think the new stuff every year is what people are coming for. I think this year at Transworld kind of lacked that a little bit. I'm not going to call out people, but that's one thing that I was, in some places, I was a little kind of disappointed. I was like, man, I don't see as much new stuff as you normally see. Do you have a number, like we got to have this many new pieces before we get to the show, or do you just do what you have time for?
We set a number.
Yeah.
And then that number gets more. And then that number gets more.
Yeah.
And then by the time Transworld is coming up, or it's going to hit like within the next few days, I'm usually like a complete like mental mess. Yeah. But like we always push it to the limit.
Yeah.
To see what we can get done and see what we can get finished right before the show. We'll start out with like, all right, if we can get 5 new pieces for Transworld, we'll be good. Yeah. And then they're like, but what about this? Yeah. We're like, oh, that's good too, and then we'll get it in, and then,
it'll take no time.
Yeah, exactly.
I can get this done in a couple days. It won't be. Yeah, I feel you there, for sure. That's just how it goes. It's good kind of to hear, because you want to know that you're not the only one, like, painting things. All right, put it on the truck. Yeah. We actually had some props last year. We were painting at we got there on Tuesday, and we're like setting the booth, and there's people like painting stuff that we didn't even have ready yet,
We always try to get photograph and video of everything, and so that's kind of that's the part that kind of takes a lot of time. Yeah. And it's like, well, we could have this done right before the show, but then we have no video of it. We have nothing on the internet of it. And then so there's always like and you got to have your catalog. Yeah. Like the catalog is always big. Well, you got to have the photograph, and you got to have everything to the printer at a certain deadline, or you're not going to have your catalogs, or so there's a lot.
I think one year, this is like early days when it was still Robert Kurtzman's Creature Core, we had we didn't get the catalogs done in time, and we left for the show, and then we had them shipped in. And shipped to the shipping area of Transworld or whatever, because we were just like, and we were sweating it because we didn't know if we'd have them for the day, opening day. But everybody wants, and even now, like we try to, like we always hand out like a pamphlet or a card that's got the website, and it's always like, here's the website. You can download the catalog on this, or we have a QR code, and it's like, dude, just scan this and you got the catalog. But people still want a catalog that they can flip and look at. Even today, that's still. Do you bring a ton of those still to the show?
we've simplified our catalogs like as the years have gone on.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
we've started to like scale it back. It's costly. It's very costly
It
to
is.
like, print the catalog.
Yes.
And so I don't really correlate like number of sales with the catalog.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be that you had to have the catalog or you didn't get the sales. It seemed like it was like the like linchpin and everything.
Yes.
And now as the years have gone on, it just seems like less and less of a thing where it's like people almost come knowing what they want to buy.
Right.
And
well, with social media and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you just go to the website, you can see everything right on there. And paper costs going up, printing costs, everything's going up. So
everything that drives me crazy. You know what I mean? It's like there's always, some sort of inflation, and I don't want to get into a political discussion, but it just sucks right now because it's not just a percentage. It is like, I mean, it is a percentage, but it's a big goddamn percentage that everything has gone up. I remember when we bought foam, the polyfoam, and I was just like, wait a minute, what? Hold on. They're like, sorry, dude, it's what it costs now. And I'm just like, so then we had to go through and like adjust prices in the catalog. And it's like, well, everyone says it's going up. It really is. And it kind of sucks. You know what I mean?
yeah,
it does. Because when all your materials go up, then you got to raise prices. But now it doesn't seem like anybody's even batting an eye. Oh, well, it's this much. Because our masks, like when we sold our masks, they were, $250. Now they're up over $300. And people are just like, oh yeah, I'm like, God, I hate it.
Yeah, it's kind of just the way things are.
It is.
And
kind of blows.
We always try to stay super competitive in our pricing.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's just materials just make it very difficult.
Yeah.
To do that. So.
And there's so many, you know what I mean? Just from your mold, like you said, the molding to the casting, running everything, it can get costly. So if you're thinking about doing this kind of stuff, keep that in mind.
Yeah.
You always got to have that capital to get going. For sure. But, well, hey, listen, man, I appreciate you coming up. I know you got to get home, get the kids and all that good stuff. You're probably back at it, getting them orders out. I'll be expecting mine soon. And, but thanks for coming up, man. I appreciate you coming up. It's always good seeing you and seeing you at Transworld and everything.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. And, I promise you, we will get you your order on time. You don't need to worry about it.
Oh, I'm not worried at all. Never have been. But anybody out there, I know you guys know who he is. Beastcraft, top tier shit. I mean, I'm going to plug it because it's so good. That's the stuff you want for your haunted attraction. I mean, I got plenty of it. Check them out. Is it beastcraft.com?
Beastcraftprops.com.
Beastcraftprops.com. You're on Instagram. You're on Facebook. Check it out. And thanks again for coming up, man. And hopefully we'll have you back.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, Dustin. Take care.